Appreciate everybody coming out to support Big Ten football. Just briefly, I would like to start by thanking Commissioner Delaney for what he's been able to do for our conference, what he's been able to do for college athletics, and what he's been able to do specifically for Big Ten football for 30 years. Obviously, he's had a tremendous impact, and also want to welcome Commissioner Warren. We look forward to working with him in our future. So, briefly, I want to talk about, the foundation that we've laid, that we're very proud of. You look at our success over the last 3 years at Penn State. We've been able to do some really good things and laying a foundation to build on 14 straight winning seasons, one of 5 programs in the country that have been able to do that. One of 6 programs to win 9 or more regular season games in the last 3 years. That's us, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Washington. One of 6 programs to finish in the top 15 in the college football playoff poll in the last 3 years. Again, us, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Washington. Second nationally in FBS attendance. I want to thank our fans for that. You look at college football right now and you look at game attendance in general, that's a challenge. In 2013, the year before we got the job, we were averaging 96,000 per game. And then last year we averaged 105,485. So I want to thank our fans for that. Obviously, back-to-back New Year's 6 bowl games in 2016 and 17, and then tied for 9th in FBS winning percentage over the last 3 years. So really have been able to do some fantastic things, and I want to thank our staff. I think we got the best staff in college football, so appreciative of those men. I want to thank our players that have been unbelievable in terms of handling adversity, in terms of growing as a community, in terms of working really, really hard as a football program. So a lot of good things going on. We obviously got to use that foundation to continue to grow and take that next step as an organization and as a program. We probably have more question marks this year than we've had over the last couple of years. Obviously, when you lose a quarterback who's played as much football as Trace McSorley has played for us, that's going to lead you off with some question marks going into the season. But we are young, we are talented. And probably the fastest football team that I've been a part of in probably my 9 years as a head football coach. So we're excited about having that speed and athleticism on the field. Some positions last year that I felt like we were young and inexperienced. Obviously, we were able to grow. You look at us on special teams. We started 2 freshman kickers. We'll obviously be able to grow there. Feel like we have a chance to be really strong on special teams with Blake Gillikin as our punter. And then obviously with Jake Pinniger as our field goal kicker. And then we're returning Rafael Checa as our kickoff special. So feel good about those positions. And then we brought some guys in to compete there. And then on offense, obviously, wide receiver, we expect to take a step this year at the wide receiver position. Gained a lot of experience last year at the tight end position. We feel like that has a chance to be a strength for us with Freiermuth and Bowers. You look at us at the running back position over the last number of years, we've been able to produce at a high level at that position. We want to continue to do that. Obviously, question marks at the quarterback position with a competition between Clifford and Levis, and then our offensive line with 3 returning starters. So excited about those positions. On defense, at defensive end, I think we got a chance to be as good as anywhere in the country at defensive end. Went into spring ball with question marks at D tackle. I think we're probably a little bit further ahead there than we thought we were. Same thing at the safety position. And then we feel like we got a chance to be really talented at linebacker and corner. So excited about the season. Obviously, media days for us as coaches kind of ends summer break, and we're ready to roll. And looking forward to get back on campus and work with our guys. So appreciate the opportunity to be here and open it up to questions.
We'll begin in the far back right behind that light.
Jason Jorgensen, KRVN Radio. Coach, what's your comfort level at the quarterback position? And it's big shoes to fill there.
Yeah, obviously, whenever you lose a quarterback that played as many games and started as many games as Trace McSorley did for us and was able to win at such a high level, obviously there's question marks going into the season. But we've been fortunate to be able to recruit extremely well. Very confident in the way we develop that position as well. And we think we're going to have great competition. We got two what we would consider veterans in Sean Clifford and in Mr. Levis that are going to have a great competition this camp and have really had that all summer, including spring ball. And then we got two freshmen that are also going to have an opportunity to compete as well. And we'll make the decision when the decision's been made, when it's obvious to everybody who our starting quarterback's going to be. So, Sean was able to gain some experience last year and do some pretty good things for us. And I know he's excited and chomping at the bit, as well as Will Levis is too. So obviously big shoes to fill, but we got tremendous confidence in those guys and what they're going to be able to do for our program.
Coach Bob Osmundson, Champaign News-Gazette. Big Ten has been left out of the playoffs for the last 2 years. What's wrong?
Very direct. I think, obviously from our conference, I think I got a pretty good perspective. I've been a head coach in the SEC. I've been a head coach in the Big Ten. And I love our conference. I think we do it the right way, both on and off the field. We compete at a very high level, but I think obviously when you're left out of the playoffs for 2 years in a row, I think there needs to be discussions, and there's discussions that are going on, and I think we got to look at it all. We look at how the divisions are. How the divisions are broken up right now. I think the East is very strong and has been very strong for a number of years. And, I think, obviously you can have the argument over history. There's ebb and flow, but if you look at the East, it's pretty strong. Probably similar in a lot of ways what the SEC West is like. So I think we got to look at that, at least have a discussion. Not saying that we necessarily have to make any changes, but we need to have a discussion. I think obviously the 9 conference games is something that needs to be discussed. When you play 9 conference games, you're going to have more losses within your conference. Just obviously mathematics tell you that. Obviously we've made some changes now in some of the philosophies that go around 1AA games, FCS opponents and things like that. So I just think all these things need to be discussed after the last 2 years and what's happened, because I think obviously a lot of the people in this room, as well as the people in our conference, feel like we have an opportunity to compete with anyone, anywhere, at any time, and we want the opportunity to do that. So the hard part, I think, with that is the set of criteria that you've been told are going to impact, being able to make the playoff, strength and schedule and things like that. There's a lot of variables there. There's a lot of things you can't control, and also the people that are in that room are different every single year. So, I think what we got to do is control the things that we can control and the things that we know are constants. And those are the discussions that we're going to have as a conference. But, right now I'm more worried about Penn State and what we need to do to be successful. But I think it's a fair question, and I think it's a fair discussion that needs to happen.
Coach, Jackson Freiberger with the Buckeyes Wire. You brought up
Jackson.
The SEC and your time at Vanderbilt. What do you think is one of the biggest differences coaching in the Big Ten versus the SEC?
Well, I'm not in the comparison business, but I do think that experience, obviously, in two of the more, if not the most respected conferences in college football, I think helps. Understanding what that league is all about and how they've had this success, and being able to sit in those meetings with the ADs and head coaches in the SEC and able to do the same thing in the Big Ten. It's obviously, I think, a unique perspective. At one point, me and Urban, had a similar perspective. So I think there's value in that. Different styles from an athletic director's perspective, different styles from a head coach's perspective, different styles from a commissioner's perspective. But for me, it's a tremendous opportunity. It's great information. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I used to always, when I first became a head coach in the SEC, I used to find a way to kind of sit between Les Miles and Spurrier, because they would entertain me the entire meeting. and then obviously now being in the Big Ten, I think there's a lot of value. So I'm not going to get into the comparison business, but obviously two unbelievably respected conferences that do it right, that do it on the biggest stage, and you know, I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to be a part of both.
Hi, James. Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
Hey, Bill.
After the Ohio State game last year, you said you were a great program but not an elite program. Where are you now? What steps do you have to take to get to that level?
Yeah, I think you know, I think a little bit of that comment was misinterpreted a little bit, because I do think we're at a point as a program, you look at the stats that I was able to list off over the last 3 years, we're at a point as a program where I think 90% of programs across college football would like to be where we're at. But we need to take the next step. There's no doubt about it. So for us, it's everything. It's coaching, it's scheme, it's player development, it is recruiting, it's facilities, it's every aspect of our program. And I think that comment and that, you know, that discussion has created really good dialogue in the offseason. Is what do we need to do from a Penn State's perspective to take that next step? What do I need to do? It's all of us. And I think we keep chipping away at it. I mean, you look at us. You know, the last 3 years, we've been as competitive with Ohio State as anybody, you know, in the conference. You know, we were able to win 1 year and lost by 1 point, you know, 2 years in a row, which is heartbreaking. You know, which is heartbreaking. From your perspective, probably great football games. You know, from a Penn State's perspective, you know, it breaks your heart. So we got to find a way to be able to take that next step and be able to do it consistently. But we're at a point as a program, it's not one glaring area. It's fighting for every small, you know, fraction that we possibly could find, and that's in every area. That's nutrition, that's sports science, that's scheme, that's all of it. Every single aspect, we got to be fighting and competing in every area to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to be successful week in and week out against the best teams in college football.
Anything further for Coach Franklin? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day.